Hello students, now we are starting a quick revision of the topic reproductive health. In the beginning, one should know that India was among the few countries of the world which started a national program aiming the social reproductive health, and that time the name of the program was Family Planning Program. This program was initiated in the year 1951. Please remember this year. This is important for examination. Family Planning Program was started in 1951. From time to time, this Family Planning Program has been revised and many new areas and targets have been added into that. Today, this program is a very multi-spectrum program with a new name today by RCH program, or Reproductive and Child Health Program. Not only the reproductive health of a woman, of a man, the adolescents and many other social evils are the target of this program. To handle the social evils is the target of the program. One such I want to mention here is amniocentesis. Now, what RCH program banned amniocentesis. There was a statutory ban on amniocentesis. What exactly is amniocentesis? It comprises of two words, one is amnio and one is centesis. Amnio stands for the amniotic fluid which surrounds the fetus, and centesis means to take out through a syringe. Now, in this technique, a long needle is inserted in the tummy of a mother. Then, with the help of this syringe, the amniotic fluid is aspirated out, is taken out. Then this fluid is sent for analysis and examination. The fluid contains fetal skin cells and other dissolved substances. These cells are analyzed for some genetic disorders. Remember, when you have a cell, you have the DNA, you have the nucleus, you have the genome, and you can determine any chromosomal disorder or any other mutational disorder. For example, you can already know before birth the chances of Down syndrome, hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, etc. Yes, hemophilia, yes, sickle cell anemia. It is not only the chromosomal abnormalities, but other mutational disorders can also be. 2 points to focus here. Number one, whose cells are analyzed? If the option says mother cell, maternal cell, no. For maternal cell, we don't want to aspirate the fluid out, such a risky technique. These are the fetal cells are analyzed because we are going to find out the problem in the fetus. If you want to obtain the maternal cell, you can take out the blood sample, you can take out the WBCs, you can even scrape the oral mucosa, you can get the mother cell. So, remember it, these are the fetal cell, point number one. Point number two is, this technique is not banned, but the prenatal sex determination with the help of this technique is banned. I repeat, you cannot determine the sex of the fetus before birth. We call it prenatal sex determination. So, not this technique is banned, but to find out the sex of the fetus is banned, because that can lead to female feticides, as used to happen in our country earlier. A very important aspect of this chapter is population stabilization and birth control. Let's begin with understanding the problem and understanding the magnitude of this problem. Now, here is the timeline of the world population and here is the Indian population. In the last 100 years, from 1900 to 2000, you can see such a rise, 3 times a rise in the world population. In 1900, it was estimated to be 2 billion, and it is close to 6 billion by the year 2000. As per the latest census of 2011, the world population was 7.2 billion. 7.2 billion. Now, comparing this with the Indian trend, we have data of our independence, 1947. At that time, we were 350 million. Now, in these years, we were close to 1 billion, very close to 1 billion by the year 2000, and we crossed 1.2 billion by the year 2011. The latest census is of 2011. We crossed 1.2 billion, and it is estimated to be 1.25 particularly billion Indian population by 2011. Although by the family planning program, we were able to reduce the growth rate, but very marginal. An annual growth rate of 2% means 20 addition in the population per 1000 of the individual in 1 year. 1000 individual after 1 year will become 1020. After considering all the birth, death, migration, all of that, this is the net growth in the population. Remember, it is not the birth rate. My dear students, I want you to please focus on these data, and these data can be asked directly in the examination, and the current growth rate is little less than 2%. As per 2011 census, it is 1.7%. One thing you see here, 6 billion, this is 1 billion, and 7.2 and 1.2, that way you can make a rhyme here. The question is why there has been such a big population explosion. There has been a population explosion because of the improved medical facilities. There has been a decline in the death, the maternal mortality rate, the infant mortality rate have been decreased in the last few decades. Overall health services have increased in the last few decades. One more important thing here, that we have more number of individual in the reproductive age group, the middle age group of 15 to 45 years. We have a bigger proportion of our population in this age group, and that is also one of the reasons why there has been an increase in the population, or such a substantial increase in the population. MMR stands for maternal mortality rate, maternal for mother, and mortality rate means the death rate. Infant, a baby of 0 to 1 years of age, is an infant. Mortality means death, rate is rate. There has been a significant decline in the maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate. One more question is, what can be done to somehow handle this problem? We have to promote small family size, and this go hand by hand by promoting various contraceptive practices. Along with that, legalizing the marriageable age. In our country, we have already done that. In India, the legal age to marry for a girl is minimum 18 years. She should be 18 plus years to be able to legally marry someone, and that for the boys is 21 years. A boy should be more than 21 years to legally marry someone. Under population stabilization and birth control, this is a very important subtopic which is contraceptive methods. I have seen questions on this and this is important, so please pay attention, focus one by one. All these methods can be divided into these 6 subcategories. Number 1, natural methods, barrier methods, IUD, intrauterine devices, OCPs, oral contraceptive pills. The 5th one is implants or injections. And the 6th one is the surgical or sterilization. So these are the 6 types of birth control methods. The first one is the natural method. What comes in the natural method? There are 3 subcategories of the natural method, or we can say there are 3 types of natural birth control methods. Number 1 is rhythm method, also called periodic abstinence, periodically avoiding unprotected intercourse. And number 3 is, it is also called calendar method. Now, this is based on the menstrual cycle days. For example, knowing the last menstrual period, we can estimate what day of the menstrual cycle is this going on. Now, the rule of the thumb is, we know that the first day of bleeding is the first day of cycle, and this continues for 3 to 5 days. This is called menstruation. And in the middle of the cycle, that is approximately near 14 days, there is ovulation. And for 24 hours after ovulation, it is still viable, and if viable sperms come here, then there are chances of fertilization. The period of 10 to 17 is a fertile period, and a couple should avoid unprotected coitus in this period, wherein the rest of the period, which is 1 to 10 and 17 to 28, 1 to 10, 17 to 28, this is known as the safe period. So, this is the periodic abstinence, because periodically every month a couple, they have to refrain themselves from unprotected coitus in this period. Another method is called coitus interruptus. In this, the male withdraw his penis just before ejaculation, so that the semen is not ejaculated inside the female vagina. The concept of coitus interruptus is the semen is not allowed to ejaculate inside. So, practically a woman is not inseminated. Lactational amenorrhea, this is after childbirth, and this can work for as long as 6 months. We know that lactational means pertaining to the breastfeeding, and amenorrhea means temporary cessation of menstrual cycle. We know that after childbirth, for lactation, there is a high secretion of a hormone called prolactin, and high level of prolactin is responsible for inhibition of gonadotropins, and the pituitary gonadotropins are LH and FSH. The hormone prolactin, it inhibits LH and FSH, and therefore, the overall menstrual cycles are inhibited, and no menstrual cycle, no ovulation, there is no ovum which will get fertilized here. So it is called lactational amenorrhea, no periods, no menstrual cycle, no ovulation, no fertilization, despite there are viable sperms in the female genital tract. So these methods, they have very little or no side effects. No side effects. This is an advantage here, but then the disadvantage is that the failure rate are pretty high. So high failure rate but low or no side effects. After the natural methods, the barrier methods of contraception. Now, overall idea of barrier is there is a physical barrier between sperms and ovum. So they are not able to meet and therefore they prevent fertilization. Let us see what type of barrier methods are available. There are two types of barrier method. One is a condom. We have both male and female condoms available. And the other type, which are mainly for covering the cervix, are diaphragm or cervical cap or vault. Let us begin with the condoms first. Not only the male condom but female condom are also available, although the use of male condom is more prevalent and male condoms are easily available and better accepted by the couple. These condoms are made up of latex sheath, a rubber sheath, thin sheath of rubber, and they are disposable, use and throw. So this is a male condom and the female condom. So you can easily identify the female condom. There is a picture of a female condom given in the NCERT. That diagram can come in the examination, so you must be able to identify the male and the female condom. The female condoms are popularly known as Famidom. They are called Famidoms. So they are not tapered at one end. Both the ends are of the same diameter almost. This is open side and this side is a closed one. So this is to be inserted inside and the females themselves can insert, and after the coitus they can throw them. One advantage of condom is they prevent the STI, sexually transmitted infections, and AIDS. A very big protection against STI and AIDS by the complete cover in male and female condoms. The other one are the cervical covers, diaphragm, cervical cap, vault. These are, now they cover only the cervix. They are also made up of latex, but they are reusable. They cover only the cervix, hence there is no protection against STI because a major part of the vaginal mucosa and the penis skin, they are in contact with each other and there are transfer of the body fluids and the viruses or bacteria. Along with these diaphragm, cervical caps, vaults, spermicidal jellies and spermicidal creams should be used as an added advantage. After the barrier method, now IUDs, intrauterine devices. They are also called IUCDs, intrauterine contraceptive devices. Now here I have shown normally the commonly available IUD, how it is placed inside the lumen of the uterus. So this is the uterus, this is the cervix, the vagina, and it is inserted through the vagina by trained doctor or trained nurse. The user cannot insert it herself. So this is the diagram and it remains inside the uterine lumen and it creates local inflammation, and because of the local inflammation there is increased phagocytosis of the sperms. When sperms enter here, they are phagocytosed by many phagocytes and macrophages of vaginal mucosa. There are three types of IUDs: non-medicated, copper releasing and hormone releasing. This is a very important classification. Three types of IUDs: non-medicated, copper releasing and hormone releasing. First of all, their names. Non-medicated, the lips loop. The lips loop, it is a non-medicated one and it is made up of plastic. It is made up of plastics. This is how it looks like. This loop looks like, and it is inserted inside the uterus through vagina, and these threads, they remain out of the cervix so that the user can insert the finger and can feel the presence of the lips loop inside, so that it may not be displaced inside the uterus. The other one is copper releasing one. The examples are copper T, copper 7 and multi-load 375, copper T, copper 7 and multi-load 375. The hormone releasing, we have LNG20, very important. LNG, you can understand by LNG, levonorgestrel, levonorgestrel, so that you understand it is a hormone. Hormone containing, another one is progestasert, progestasert containing progestogen. So, first of all, we should remember the examples. Now, another important aspect is their mechanism of action. Now, basic mechanism of action, I told you that they increase phagocytosis of sperms. So, they increase phagocytosis of sperm, and this is due to the increased local inflammation inside the vaginal mucosa. Why inflammation? Because a foreign body is placed inside the uterus. So, this is a basic mechanism, increased phagocytosis of sperms. Now, copper releasing, this is by default of its shape. Copper ion can suppress sperm motility and thereby the fertilizing capacity of the sperm. Listen to me once again very carefully. Copper ions, they reduce sperm motility, and you know that for fertilization the motility of sperm should be there. They should be vigorously motile, and the copper ions, they reduce the fertilizing capacity of the sperm. Hormone releasing, in addition to phagocytosis and in addition to sperm motility, they also prevent implantation. They prevent implantation means they oppose implantation, and also they make the cervical mucus very thick. They make the cervical mucus plug, it is a cervical plug, very thick mucus. Therefore, now the sperms, there is a no entry for the sperm, sperm cannot enter here and they can fertilize, because the site of fertilization, this is the site of fertilization. So, they alter the cervical mucus consistency and also they prevent implantation. Non-medicated increase phagocytosis of sperm, then decrease sperm motility and thereby fertilizing capacity of sperm by copper releasing and hormone releasing. Even if by chance there is fertilization, then the hormone will prevent any implantation here and also prevent fertilization by making a barrier, by making this mucus very thick, so that this becomes a no entry for the sperms. Now, the oral contraceptive pills, OCPs, oral contraceptive pills, actually these are the oral tablets, therefore we are popularly calling them pills. What they contain? They contain low dose of progesterone or either a combination of progesterone and estrogen, either P alone or P plus E. These tablets to be taken daily by the woman, and the schedule of tablet is shown here For example, this is the first day of the menstrual cycle, the first day of bleeding, and ideally to be started from the first day, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and continuing till the 21 days. So, take the pill for 21 days. Now, this contains P plus E combination. Then either you give a gap of 7 days, or there is a dummy pill which are sugar pills only, so that the rhythmicity and the periodicity should not be disturbed. So, you can take that, but there is no hormone here, these are only dummy. When the estrogen progesterone level goes down, then the bleeding occurs. So, in this period the bleeding takes place. Again after the 7 days, again you can begin taking the pill. So, what happens that when you maintain a constant level of hormone in the blood, there is no menstrual cycle and there is no ovulation. And when there is no ovulation, who will get fertilized? So, the mechanism of action, very important question, is absence of ovulation. These cycles can be called as anovulatory cycles. Anovulatory means without ovulation. This is one. Next one is they inhibit implantation, and number 3, they alter the quality of cervical mucus, making it thick so that the sperms may not enter further. They make the cervical mucus plug. OCPs are well accepted by the users, by the women. The reasons could be the side effects are very, very low, and there is a high contraceptive value. Very high contraceptive value means the failure rate is very, very low. So, this is most widely accepted contraceptive pill for the women so as to prevent conception. But these are hormonal pills. It contains P or combination of P and E. It is a matter of pride for all of us that in India, Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh, CDRI Lucknow. The scientists of CDRI Lucknow, they have developed a non-steroidal contraceptive pill. Yes, you heard it right, it is non-hormonal, because these hormones are steroid, it is a steroid. So, I can call it non-hormonal or non-steroidal. So, there are no hormones here, and the active agent here is santochroman. Santochroman is the active agent here. The advantage of these pills is, of course, they are non-hormonal, and another advantage is they are weekly pill. They have to be taken only once a week, wherein hormonal are daily pills, they have to be taken daily. But this is a weekly pill. It was marketed as by the brand name of Saheli. Saheli. Now, the mechanism of action of santochroman is it is an inhibitor of estrogen receptors. So, I will write here E receptors inhibition inside the uterus. So, it inhibits the E receptors inside the uterus. Now, the uterus does not respond to the E stimulus, E signal, and thereby is not responding with implantation. Hence, it has got very low side effects and very high contraceptive value. Remember the name santochroman, weekly once pill, and it was developed by Indian scientists at Lucknow Central Drug Research Institute, and the mechanism of action is to inhibit the estrogen receptors in the uterus. In 2017 NEET examination, there was out of the way question on Saheli, that what is the mechanism of action of Saheli. Although the options were given quite easy, but you have to have a courage in order to answer such question. Here you should focus on a very important point: emergency contraceptives. Emergency contraceptives. First of all, why there is a need of emergency contraceptive? Number one, there is an unprotected intercourse, a casual, unprotected coitus. Number two, victims of sexual abuse like rape. In that case, emergency contraceptives play a very important role because these are post-coital. These are post-coital. Earlier OCPs, implants, all these are pre-coital, but these are post-coital. What do they contain? Number one, they also contain the same hormones. What hormones? Progestogen or progestogen plus estrogen combination. The same hormone but in a different dose. These drugs have to be taken within 72 hours of unprotected intercourse, otherwise they will not work. One more way of providing emergency contraceptive or post-coital contraceptive is to insert an IUD. IUD, provided even that is to be given within 72 hours. So, within 72 hours, you can give tablets containing progestogen or combination of P plus E. For example, you might have heard about I-pill or unwanted 72. These pills are popularized by media, and IUD that can only be given by a trained doctor. The last part here is surgical. Surgical or sterilization. Sterilization. I believe you all have an idea about surgical. Surgical methods are vasectomy in males and tubectomy in females. The last method of birth control is surgical. Surgical are nothing but sterilization surgeries. You all have an idea about these surgeries. For example, in males there is vasectomy, where the vas deferens, both the vas deferens are cut and tied. In females it is tubectomy, again both the fallopian tubes are cut and tied by a small incision from vagina, and in case of male by a small incision or a cut from the abdominal wall. Generally, these are taken to be a terminal method of birth control. What is the meaning of terminal method? A terminal method means when the family is complete, then usually such type of surgeries are advised. The advantage of these is they are highly effective, but the disadvantage is the reversibility is poor. If again we want to reverse it, and if the couple want to have a baby again, it is difficult for the surgeon to revive the continuity. So, I believe you have understood all the methods of birth control, and these are very, very important, and I hope that you have taken note of the board work that I have written on the board. You have also copied each and everything in your notebook. Remember, you are not seeing a web series or some YouTube video. This is a classroom and you are in a class. Take advantage of a class. Thank you. After the contraceptive methods, another important point is medico-legal termination of pregnancy. In the new prints of NCERT, they have added some matter in this regard. And believe me, as a doctor, I am telling you, it is a very, very important topic for NEET examination or even for NEET PG examination. It is a very, very important topic. It stands for, MTP stands for medico legal termination of pregnancy. Sometimes we can also call it medical termination of pregnancy, wherein the termination of pregnancy or abortion is done by the medical experts. This can be defined as intentional or voluntary termination of pregnancy before its full terms. Now, full terms means completing its entire developmental period. Before completing its developmental period, terminating the pregnancy is called medico-legal termination of pregnancy. Why it was required? It was required because earlier there have been many malpractices by the doctors and even more than doctors by the untrained professionals, unprofessionals to terminate the pregnancy and to do abortions. Now, when the act was passed in the Indian Parliament, it came in the clutches of law and with an intention to prevent the malpractices in the society. Indian Parliament passed the MTP Act in the year 1971, and at that time, only before that, MTP was illegal in our country, and in 1971, from 1971, this practice has become legal, but with certain guidelines and certain conditions. What are those conditions? The conditions or the grounds of MTP are: if the continuation of the pregnancy is riskier to the mother, it is riskier to the physical or even mental health of the mother. Number two, the continuation of pregnancy, there is a possibility of physical or mental abnormality of the child born. And one more is, if the pregnancy is a result of sexual abuse like rape. So, in these grounds, law says that you can terminate the pregnancy with certain guidelines and restrictions. Here the restriction is, you could have done it in the first trimester of pregnancy, because terminating the pregnancy in the second and third trimester is relatively riskier. Now comes a very important point in MTP, and that was the MTP Amendment Act. MTP Act Amendment 2017. What was this amendment? This is an important, I will put 5 star. This is a 5-star question for NEET examination. Believe me, don't dare to leave this topic, and please try to understand. See, this amendment says that all other guidelines will be accepted, but in the first trimester, a doctor can certify that it is really required to terminate the pregnancy on the given grounds. But if the termination of pregnancy is required in the second trimester, then what? In the new amendment, it is allowed that it can be done, if it is really required to terminate the pregnancy, it can be done in the second trimester, provided there is a written consent of 2 medical practitioners. So, medical practitioner number 1 and medical practitioner number 2, and if both of them give the same opinion that the termination of pregnancy is really required, then it can be done in the second trimester, but then in the third trimester it is illegal by any way or by any means. In fact, doing it after 20 weeks of pregnancy is illegal. Up to 20 weeks of pregnancy, MTP Act allows the doctor or the trained medical professional to perform MTP. So, remember this MTP Act 1971, and then you reverse 71, make it 17, 2017, it was the MTP Act amendment. There have been many amendments earlier, it is not the only amendment, but this amendment is a reasonably important one, that in the first trimester, opinion of one medical practitioner is required as usual as before, but in the second trimester it can be done up to 20 weeks of pregnancy, provided now two medical practitioners have to give their opinion in signed document. This is about MTP. Student, this is very important topic both for NEET UG as well as NEET PG. Sexually transmitted diseases or sexually transmitted infections, STIs, also commonly known as venereal diseases. Venereal diseases. First of all, you should know the alternate name of this. Then these are some examples of that. I have written here 8 examples. Your textbook says 8 examples. Let us learn the name of the disease and the pathogen and what category it belongs to. It is a bacteria or a virus or a protozoa. So, the first one is syphilis. The causative organism is Treponema pallidum, Treponema pallidum, and it is a bacteria. Second one is gonorrhea. The pathogen is Neisseria gonorrhoeae, Neisseria gonorrhoeae, and it is also a bacteria. Chlamydia. The causative organism is also called Chlamydia trachomatis. Chlamydia trachomatis. The disease and the agent name is same, and it is a bacteria. Genital herpes. It is caused by herpes simplex virus. Herpes simplex virus, HSV, and no need to mention it is a virus. Genital warts, human papilloma virus, human papilloma virus, and it is a virus. Then trichomoniasis. This is a protozoa by the name Trichomonas vaginalis. Trichomonas vaginalis, and the most common names hepatitis B and AIDS. Hepatitis B is by hepatitis B virus and AIDS is by HIV, human immunovirus. Now, here some points to be understood and remembered. The most commonly treatable disease is chlamydia. Maximum treated patients go out of hospital, but some diseases cannot be completely cured. What are these? Remember, one such deadly disease is genital herpes. Once someone is affected by that, it cannot be cured in life. Drugs and medical facilities can only alleviate the symptoms, but it cannot be completely cured. Then you know hepatitis B and AIDS, they are also not completely cured. So, these are some of the names where the complete cure is not possible. These last two, hepatitis B and AIDS, they can also be transmitted not only by unprotected intercourse, but also by sharing any body fluid, blood transfusion, or even plasma transfusion, or even sharing the used needles, etc. So, and both of them have common mode of transmission along with the sexual means. After playing the video, please pause the video and note down the content in your notebook as you are in a real class. With regard to STI, some few important points to be pondered upon. Early symptoms. Early symptoms can be itching, fluid discharge, slight pain or swelling in the genitals. Now these symptoms are so vague and low grade that most of the time they remain unnoticed, but it may lead to severe complications. The complications could be PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, ectopic pregnancy, which is the implantation at an abnormal site, then abortions, infertility or even cancer. It has been noticed that the most important cancer in the Indian woman, which is the cancer of uterine cervix, is related to HPV, human papilloma virus. Another important point is which age group is most vulnerable. It has been found that 15 to 24 years of age group is most vulnerable, and most of the patients are of this age group. This is the age group in which you are present. No need to panic. With proper counseling and medical advice, things can be handled very peacefully. Hello students, now we come to the last part of this chapter, which is infertility. What is infertility? Infertility is inability to produce children despite unprotected sexual cohabitation. Sexual cohabitation. When we say sexual cohabitation, means two persons are sharing their bodies, they are living a relationship wherein they can have casual sexual relationship and unprotected without any contraceptive device. If people are involved and despite they are not able to produce children, this is called infertility. Now there are many underlying disorders which are responsible for infertility, and there might be some psychological disorders, some physiological. There are infertility clinics these days where such problems can be handled, but in case if the underlying cause has been treated and no cure has been obtained, then what is the option then? Then the option is called ART, assisted reproductive technologies. Now these technologies wherein biotechnology, wherein the man, machine and the body are integrated and then assisting the couple to have children. The first one is in vitro fertilization. You might have heard about test tube baby program from your childhood. Probably you have heard about test tube baby from your neighborhood or from the movies, serials. You have heard test tube baby. What is a test tube baby? A baby is never born in a test tube. No baby can born in a test tube ever by any technology. All babies are born out of the mother uterus. So why it is called test tube baby? Because it involves IVF, in vitro fertilization. The term in vitro stands for, now when we say in vitro, actually vitro means glass and in glass means in the lab condition, because usually the laboratory equipments are made up of glass. So when we say in glass, we are actually meaning in the lab condition. So when the fertilization is in vitro, when we are collecting the gametes from different couple, from the different partners, either we can collect the sperm from the same husband or from the donor if there are other problems with the husband. and similarly ova can be collected either from the same wife or from a donor, and these can be fertilized in the lab condition, wherein all the required condition for their fertilization, all the natural condition for the fertilization are provided in the laboratory. After that, when the embryo is formed after fertilization, this embryo is then transferred into the viable womb, into the healthy womb or uterus. As I said that no baby can ever born by any technology of the world in a test tube. You require a healthy womb to get born. Now, this embryo can be transferred. So, this is yet another technique of ART, embryo transfer or ET. It is of two types, ZIFT ZIFT or IUT intrauterine transfer. Now, ZIFT stands for zygote intrafallopian transfer. It is a type of ET. Now, it is very easy, try to understand. Zygote intrafallopian, there is a zygote and we are transferring it inside the fallopian tube. Why? The probability of implantation are higher when you transfer the embryo into the fallopian tube. So, now this can be done from the zygote up to 8 blastomeres, up to 8 blastomeres, but if there are more than 8 blastomeres, then you cannot transfer it inside the fallopian tube, then you have to transfer it inside the uterus and wait for the implantation. So, embryo transfer is usually, it follows the in vitro fertilization, but sometimes it can also follow an in vivo fertilization. When in a woman all the conditions are normal for the fertilization, but further development of the baby, further development of the fetus is not possible. Means the fallopian tubes, ovaries all are normal, but the uterine cavity or the uterus or some hormonal balance is such that the pregnancy cannot sustain. Then what? Then after formation of the zygote in the fallopian tube, the embryo is collected, same procedure, up to 8 blastomere ZIFT, more than 8 blastomeres IUT, but this woman is not able to produce children. Then what? Then go for a hired mother, a hired womb. Such a mother is called surrogate mother. Surrogate means hired. As you hire a taxi, you hire a mother and she will give birth in her, because she has got a healthy uterus where your patient does not have. So, ET can follow IVF as well as it can follow in vivo fertilization. In vivo means in the natural condition, in vitro means in the lab condition, in vivo means in the natural condition. Then there are some females where they are not able to produce their ovum, but otherwise they have normal condition, their uterine cavity is normal, they can sustain a development, a pregnancy, but they cannot produce gametes. Then what? Then collect the ovum from a donor and by a long needle inject that gamete in the fallopian tube, and after that, after transferring, allow them to have unprotected intercourse, and then the sperms can fertilize this ovum of some donor which has been transferred to the ampullary part of the fallopian tube. Now, this is called gamete intrafallopian transfer. Here the problem is in the gonads, but not in the uterine cavity. It is a modern technique called ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, wherein you inject the sperm directly inside the cytoplasm of the ovum. The chances of fertilization are very high, though you require specialized machines and expertise to do that. And lastly, we have artificial insemination. AI stands for artificial insemination. Yes, not only in cattle and not only in herd animal, even in human beings we require AI. When? Number one, case number one, when the male is impotent, when the male partner is impotent, impotent means he is not able to inseminate the woman, he is not able to transfer the semen into the woman, otherwise he can make normal healthy sperm, normal semen, but unable to transfer the semen inside the woman. He is impotent. So, in that case, if he is not able to inseminate, you can inseminate artificially. That is one condition. Condition number two, when the sperm count is very low, in 2017 NEET examination, this was the question, which technique, which ART is best suitable when the sperm count is low? As per the NCERT, the answer given was AI, and they have kept the answer as AI, though it was a very controversial question, because in one of the option it was ICSI, and all medical practitioners were saying that ICSI is the really what they do. Why I am telling you about this controversy? So that whenever your mind says that it is not correct, maybe our parents have said that, or maybe we have read this in that in some other book, only follow the NCERT, because finally that is the only legal option we have. We can fight legally that since you have given that in the NCERT, that is why we have answered, right. So, in that year also, though people have written to the CBSE, but they have only taken the AI as the correct answer. Here the low sperm count AI artificial insemination is done. My dear student, I want to say that you can revise the NCERT, and also very important that you note down each and everything that I have written on the board. It is very important to note down. Use your pen regularly, continuously during a class, and it is very important, at least in biology class, and also you can attempt few questions as your time permits. All the very best. God bless you. See you soon.